Okay, we're covering ACT Science, Passage 5. This is a data process passage. It's a little bit different. Our DRC approach, data process, is a little bit like data and a little bit like research. It's going to give you the process they went through to gather the data, but you're not giving 2 experiments, you're only given 1. We see experiment and then we see results. We don't see experiment 1, experiment 2. So this is about the process used to obtain the data. So you're going to have some questions about the process, so try to understand. So we have 2 different types of coffee beans to get biodiesel fuel. Looks like they're extracting oil using a solvent. They're filtering the contents of the solvent, extracting oil, adding ethanol to a beaker and stirring, and they are determining the mass of biodiesel produced. It looks like we have the results here. So you know basically what's going on. Approach to the questions is to read and then reread. We're going to break it down step by step through the reread. Number 28. For each type of SCGs are the spent coffee grounds. Which of the following statements describes the difference between the oil extraction procedure? So procedure, we're using something over here in the experiment for the 2 samples, S3 and S2. And double underline S2 because we want to make sure we're saying it the correct order. The S2 samples were. So I see that they're using heptane as the solvent, so we can go ahead and eliminate ethanol from both those. So they both used heptane, so H and J are out. And then S2 was extracted at 70 degrees and S3 at 95 degrees, so your answer has to be F. Make sure you're doing it in the correct order. Number 29, we have a suppose if Y question, so we have to extend our thinking a bit. So we're testing another 50-gram sample of type R at 2.6 grams. That's the extension, just recognizing where that would go. So it continues up this path and it's going to be a little less than sample 1. The extraction temperature would most likely have been. So we look at extraction temperature, it continues the same direction, so less than 22. So the answer has to be A. Number 30. A student predicted that type R SG samples, the higher the extraction temperature, the greater the percent yield of biodiesel. So as temperature goes up, does biodiesel go up? The answer is yes. As the temperature increased, the biodiesel increased only. So F. 31, consider type A SCG. For which extraction temperature was the same as the temperature at which stirring occurred in step 4. So step 4, the stirring occurred at 22. Sample 1 is 22. The mass from that sample of oil was 3.5. C. 32. Consider the 2 samples have the lowest percent yields of biodiesel. So that would be 81 and 94. What is the difference, so subtract, in the mass of extracted oil between those samples? So we have 2.7 and 3.1. So 3.1 minus 2.7 is 0.4, or G. According to the results of the experiment for the type A samples, as the extraction temperature increased from 22 to 70 to 95, the percent yield of biodiesel did what? Where it goes down from 99 to 95 and then back up to 100. So it decreased and then it increased, so D. Number 34, based on the experimental procedures, was the extracted oil most likely polar or nonpolar? So they used heptane, a nonpolar solvent. So let's go ahead and eliminate what we know is not true. We know it's a nonpolar solvent, so we can eliminate F and we can eliminate H because it says they used a polar solvent. Now I'm going to go Y. So polar, as the oil is extracted using a nonpolar solvent, and polar substances are typically soluble, and nonpolar are typically soluble in nonpolar. And things are soluble in like things generally, right? Things dissolve in things that are like them together. So the answer would be J. A little bit of knowledge in that one. Review your answers and your reporting categories to see if there's a type of category that throws you off. Reach out if you have any questions. Have a good day.